New reporting that China is accelerating efforts to boost domestic AI chips, even as the president is easing Nvidia export restrictions. In today's Tech Check, Deirdre Bosa digs into what more Nvidia chips could mean for China's tech giants. Morning, Dee.
Hey, morning, Carl. So DeepSeek, yes, it's reportedly training on smuggled Blackwells. Meanwhile, ByteDance and Alibaba, Reuters says, immediately asked for H200 orders as soon as Trump reopened the window. Now, this all exposes how far behind China's domestic chip sector still is. It also forces Beijing into a three-way trade-off that it can't win. Letting companies buy Nvidia chips, that hurts momentum behind Beijing's domestic chip champions that, by the way, are now worth nearly $300 billion in market cap. On the other hand, blocking them slows its own tech giants and weakens China's best AI models. Third option, looking the other way while companies keep using gray market chips, that means giving up regulatory control altogether. So whichever way it turns, Beijing loses leverage. Now, the policy itself, it doesn't supercharge China's AI sector. It formalizes the dependence that already existed in the shadows, dependence that DeepSeek and others have already been exploiting. And instead of breaking from U.S. hardware, Chinese AI labs, they end up even more tied to NVIDIA's roadmap, stuck at whatever generation Washington is allowing. Now, TrendForce, an industry research firm cited by analysts, it predicted that China's high-end chip market would grow by over 60% next year, reaching about 50% market share. But that projection was built during a ban on U.S. chips. This reopening, that could change the equation and threatens all of that artificial demand that Beijing has spent years propping up. That's why, guys, this is not the strategic loss that some critics and China hawks, lawmakers, that they claim. Legal access doesn't actually narrow the gap. It just narrows China's options, and it keeps the ceiling on progress in U.S. hands, guys.
Yeah, I mean, so many questions. There's the geopolitical question, and then, Deirdre, there's the technology question, which you have. And that sort of lends credence to the idea, we were talking to Jack Kittery last hour about, we'll let them build off the U.S. stack so that we can kind of know what's going on there and be more in control. And then they won't do it themselves, and it'll be more of a black box.
And that's key, right? It's all about control, because we know that they were going to do it anyways. Even the first DeepSeek model that made all those headlines at the beginning of this year, you know, there's a lot of speculation that they were able to smuggle a bunch of Nvidia chips to get there. So what this does is just kind of put Beijing in a real bind. Everywhere they turn, they're kind of losing. And remember, too, that for years they've been trying to build up their domestic chip makers that are far from the technology capable of the U.S. chip makers. So this really forces Beijing into a corner. The chip makers were going to do this regardless. Now it forces Beijing to choose who can and who isn't able to use these Nvidia chips. And he uses the domestic accelerators, which, you know, end of the day, nobody actually wants to use. That puts this very clearly in focus.
Okay, Deirdre, thank you.